Good morning all. In our today's class, we are going to discuss about a new chapter called wave optics. This is one of the important chapters of your physics. Why? Because it explains the basic concepts of light. Other than that, the total marks they are asking in your examination is 9. The total marks assigned for this chapter is 9 marks. That is why I said that this is one of the important chapters of your physics. Now let us see what is the meaning of wave optics. In wave optics we have several theories about nature of light. Those theories was invented by some greatest scientists of physics. Let us see how they have explained the concept of nature of light. Here various theory regarding about nature of light, those were given by greatest scientists of physics. The very first theory of nature of light is nothing but corpuscular theory. This corpuscular theory was explained by none other than Descartes and Newton, or this may be also called as Newton's corpuscular theory. Descartes and Newton are the very first introducers of nature of light. Actually, this theory states that the light is made of very small particles called corpusculars. If the light is traveling from one region to another region, the energy carrying by those light particles are called as corpusculars. According to this theory, the speed of light in rarer medium is lesser than the speed of light in denser medium, or this is also called as the speed of light in denser medium is greater than the speed of light in rarer medium. But this theory was proved wrong by Foucault because the velocity of light in rarer medium is greater than the velocity of light in denser medium. This actually we have seen in this in ray optics chapter, because the velocity of light in rarer medium is greater than the velocity of light in denser medium because density of the medium. Okay. Next, the next theory proposed of light is Huygens and Fresnel's ether wave theory. Huygens and Fresnel's ether wave theory. According to this theory, light is a periodic disturbance transmitted through a medium in the form of waves. Actually, Newton said that the light wave has the nature of particle, but here Huygens and Fresnel's theories explaining that the light is a form of a wave. Here we are getting some confusion which nature the light has, whether it is a particle nature or a wave nature. That we should understand first. According to this theory, according to Huygens, light is a mechanical longitudinal wave. According to Huygens, light is a mechanical longitudinal wave, just like sound wave. Actually, he assumed that light wave is a longitudinal wave like a sound wave. We know that the sound waves are longitudinal in nature. Okay. He assumed a medium through which light travels and called it luminiferous ether. The medium the light is traveling is called as luminous ether. However, later on, Fresnel concluded that light wave is transverse in nature, not longitudinal as proposed by Huygens. Actually, the wave theory was invented by Huygens, Christian Huygens. But what is the mistake he has done is, he assumed that light wave is nothing but a longitudinal wave, like sound waves. But later on, Fresnel concluded by his famous wave theory, the light waves are not longitudinal in nature, but that is transverse in nature. So the theory which we are studying now is light waves is transverse in nature. In our earlier chapter we have seen that electromagnetic wave is nothing but a transverse wave in nature. That's why we have to consider a light wave as a transverse wave but not as longitudinal wave. And the very next theory of nature of light is Maxwell's electromagnetic wave theory. And the third one is Maxwell's wave electromagnetic theory. In this theory, light is an electromagnetic wave which consists of mutually perpendicular time varying electric and time varying magnetic fields which are also perpendicular to the direction of the propagation of light. Actually, this we have seen in our previous chapter called electromagnetic waves. We know the definition of electromagnetic wave. In an electromagnetic wave, it is a wave which consists of mutually perpendicular time varying electric and magnetic fields which are also perpendicular to the direction of propagation of the wave. And this theory states that since this theory could not explain certain physical phenomena like photoelectric effect and Compton effect, so electromagnetic theory was not considered as the final theory of nature of light. Actually, right now we have considered this Maxwell's electromagnetic wave theory as a final theory of nature of light. Why? Because it has explained photoelectric effect of light and Compton effect of light. Before this, earlier than this, the electromagnetic wave theory is not completely accepted by the scientists. Once after it has explained the concept of photoelectric and Compton effects, it is right now considered as the final theory of nature of light because it is transverse in nature, travel in one particular medium and also travels in a straight line. These are the main concepts of nature of light. Next, again Einstein modified some concepts using black body radiations hypothesis. Einstein's quantum theory, or Einstein used Planck's quantum hypothesis of black body radiations. According to this theory, light consists of packets of energy. In our Einstein's photoelectric effect or Einstein's Planck's quantum hypothesis of black body radiation, he assumed that light consists of packets of energy. This packets of energy is also known as photons. This packets of energy is also known as photons. With the help of this theory only, we can easily explain the concepts of photoelectric effect and Compton effect. Once after the final conclusion of black body radiations using Planck's quantum hypothesis, then only the concept of electromagnetic wave equation is approved. That's why Einstein's quantum theory is very much important in our concept of understanding light. Now, the photoelectric effect and quantum effect were explained by Einstein and Compton respectively. But there is one problem in this theory. Einstein's quantum theory, there is one problem. What is that problem? It is failed to explain interference, diffraction and polarization. Einstein's quantum theory has successfully explained the basic concepts of refraction and reflection and photoelectric effect, Compton effect, but it is failed to explain the other light phenomenon called interference, diffraction and polarization. And the last theory which has explained the properties of light are de Broglie's theory. De Broglie's wave theory, or it is also called as dual nature of light. Dual nature of light or de Broglie's wave theory. De Broglie is also a name of a scientist. He concluded that The light has a dual nature. In our last four nature of lights, we have seen that two theories are explaining wave nature and another two theories are explaining its particle nature. Newton's theory as explained particle nature, Huygens and Fresnel theory is a wave nature, Maxwell's electromagnetic wave theory is also wave nature, and Einstein's quantum theory is particle nature. So finally he concluded that light has both wave and particle nature of light. His conclusion was based on the fact that the nature loves symmetry. In this one, our universe is made of matter, material like electrons, protons and neutrons, and radiation, both particle and radiation nature. If a radiation behave like a particle, for example photon, if the radiation can behave like a particle like photon, then material particles also can behave like a radiation. Particles behave like an photon, or it is also can behave like a radiation. According to de Broglie, a moving particle is always associated with a wave known as matter wave or de Broglie wave. Finally, what he has concluded that a moving material particle is always associated with a wave known as a matter wave or de Broglie wave. This is the final conclusion about the nature of light, and the above are the famous theories of nature of light explained by greatest scientists of physics ever. Now let us see what are the next topics of our wave optics. Before understanding the Huygens principle, the next concepts of wave topic is Huygens principle. Before knowing the concept of Huygens principle, it is very hard to understand the concepts of interference, diffraction and polarization, because Huygens wave theory is the basic concepts of wave theory. After that only electromagnetic wave equation and de Broglie's wave nature has come. Now we have to see what is the meaning of Huygens principle. Before going to that Huygens principle concept, we should know what is the meaning of wavefront. What is wavefront? Actually, a wavefront is defined as the locus of all the particles of a medium vibrating in the same phase at a given instant of time. The shape of a water depends upon the shape of the source of disturbance. Here what is the wavefront means? For example, if the water is plain, we just go to the pond, and if the water is plain, just put some stone on that water. If we drop a stone to that stilled water, what it will become? It forms waves in a concentric circular rings. It forms a waves in a concentric circular rings. The each ring which is coming from that locus center, if we consider that center as O, the waves travels in a concentric waves in increasing order. Okay, the size of the wave increases as it goes away from its center. The each wave carrying its own wavefronts, and the phase of the wave should be same in all the points. The phase of the wave should be same, because the radius of the circle is same throughout that wave. That's why the phase of the each wave has to be same. Here what we have said is wavefront is defined as the locus of all particles of a medium vibrating in a same phase. For example, if you draw a circle, the radius of a circle has to be same in all the directions. That is what we have said. But in a time instant, For example, if as time increases, the phase of the wave also should be increased. The phase of the wave also should be increased, but at that particular point, for a particular time interval, the phase should be same. This shape of a wavefront depends upon the shape of the source or a disturbance. How we are disturbing the particles, that depends on a wavefront of a wave. For example, if we assume this as our wave, for example, if we drop a stone on a stilled water, the waves forms like this. Let us assume a waves form like this. The peak of the waves in the diagram, the peak of the waves are called as wavefronts. Look at those. We have number of sinusoidal waves. That wave is also called as sine wave. The peaks or crest, we used to call that as crest and trough. Peak of the wave is called as crest and the lower peak of the wave is called as trough. Here the crests, all the crests or all the troughs are carrying the same phase. Look at that. The phase of each wave is same, and these waves are called as wavefronts. The waves carrying same phase are called as wavefronts. And here in the above we have shown the direction of propagation of a wave. That is how it travels. Now there are three different types of wavefronts which are there. What is the use of these kind of wavefronts? That is more important. There are three different types of wavefronts. One is spherical wavefront, cylindrical wavefront and plane wavefront. Let us see what is the meaning of a spherical wavefront, cylindrical wavefront and a plane wavefront. Here we have the concepts of spherical wavefronts. A point of light emits waves which spread spherically outward in all the direction. If the medium is homogeneous, then after some time the wave or disturbance will travel a distance equal to v into t. That is actually v into t from the point source in all direction, where v is speed of a light in a medium. Here we have to consider a medium first. In that particular medium, if the speed of light of a wave is same in all the direction and it has to travel in a spherical form, the waves or a wavefront has to travel in a spherical nature, then we used to call such type of wavefronts or as spherical wavefronts. Without seeing the diagram, it is very hard to understand the concept of spherical wavefront. Actually, the spherical wavefront will be like this. The concentric circles will be in the shape of sphere. Okay, the center. Here the arrow marks are the directions of a ray. For example, if you assume a bulb, the light rays travels in several paths. Okay, here also it is traveling in different paths. The direction of a light ray shows the direction of a light traveling in that particular direction. The rings are in the shape of a spherical and has a same phase of a wave. This is about spherical wavefronts. If they ask what is the meaning of spherical wavefronts in your examination, you have to write the definition and also the diagram with that. Okay. Then what is the meaning of cylindrical wavefronts? Cylindrical wavefronts, it is the source of disturbance is a slit. Here we have cylindrical wavefronts. If the source of disturbance is a slit, in our earlier concept spherical wavefronts, the source of disturbance in the form of circle or sphere. Here the source of disturbance, wavefronts are nothing but it is a disturbance. Okay, initially Which kind of disturbance explain the concept of cylindrical, spherical and plane wavefronts? It is the source of disturbance is a slit, then all the points equidistant from the line source lie on the surface of the cylinder. Thus, the wavefront is cylindrical. Here, what we have is a line surface. S is our slit in that particular diagram. S is nothing but slit. It is nothing but a straight line. Slit means it is a small straight line. The slit distributes the waves or the ray of lights in all the direction. In our upper and lower top or bottom of our diagram, it is shown that the light is traveling in all the directions. Okay, the slit is producing the light in all the direction, and this type of wavefronts are called as cylindrical wavefronts. And there is the last thing of wavefront is called as plane wavefront. At a very large distance from the point source. At a very large distance from the point source, a small part of a spherical wavefront appears as a plane wavefront. Here, generally the plane wavefront is not producing by any source. Okay, every light source produces spherical wavefronts only. Every light rays which is producing a spherical wavefronts. But if the point source is at some distance, at a longer distances, if a point source is at some long distance, the wavefronts appearing to our eyes as plane wavefronts. So these spherical wavefronts at a longer distance are called as plane wavefronts. Thus, the spherical wavefronts appears as a plane wavefront after traveling a large distance from the point of the source. This is how generally a plane wavefronts like. For example, if we assume the sheets as a medium, okay, the light always traveling in a plane form. If you want to explain the plane wavefronts, we should know the concept of converging and diverging of a plane wavefronts or spherical wavefronts, but there is no need of, because the shortage of time we cannot explain all the things and they have cut off all those topics. Now let us see what is the meaning of Huygens principle. What is the meaning of Huygens principle? This is actually the three different types of wavefronts we see in our nature. One is spherical wavefront, and another one is cylindrical wavefront, and the last one is plane wavefront. This is all about the concept of wavefronts. And the last topic is wavelets. What is the meaning of wavelets? Wavelets are nothing but it is the emergence of wavefronts actually. Emergence from the wavefronts is called as wavelets. The wavelets emerges secondary wavelets. The wavefronts emerges secondary wavefronts. Actually, we have to understand this concept by seeing a video. In our next class, I can show that video to you. What is the meaning of wavefront and wavelets? Here, what we have is wavelets emerging from the wavefront is called as wavelets, or it is also called as secondary wavelets. Emerging from the wavefront is called as wavelets or secondary wavelets. Now let us see what is the meaning of Huygens principle of secondary wavelet. Huygens principle of secondary wavelet. According to Huygens, there are two principles are there. According to Huygens, there are two principles. One is each point on a given wavefront. Actually, that is not two different words, wave and front. It is actually single word. Wavefront is a single word. by every point on a given wavefront is a source of secondary wavelets. Okay, due to the secondary wavelets only we are for a source of a secondary wavelet, which is the source? Wavefront is a source for a secondary wavelets. These secondary wavelets spreads out in all the directions with the speed of the wave or speed of the light. Here we are explaining the concept of light. That is why we may also call a wave as a wave or a light. These secondary wavelets spreads out in all the directions with the speed of a wave. For example, if we switch on the bulb, then the light glows and the bulb glows and the light spreads in all the directions. This is what he is telling in his first principle. If the secondary wavelets is producing in all the direction with the speed of a wave, the source for the secondary wavelets are wavefronts. This is what he has said in first principle. The tangent drawn to the all secondary wavelets. The tangent drawn to the all secondary wavelets represent the position of a new wavefront. If we draw a tangent to a spherical wavefront, it is very hard to understand by explaining in words only. For that I am going to show a video in our next class. Then only we can easily understand what is the meaning of secondary wavelets and how we are drawing a tangent to those secondary wavelets, and again how the wavefronts or wavelets are producing using that secondary wavelets. Okay, the tangent drawn to all secondary wavelets represents the position of a new wavefront. What he is telling actually is wavefront produces secondary wavelets. Using that wavefronts we have to draw a tangent, then only we are getting a new wavefronts. This is Huygens principle on wavelets or secondary wavelets. Now here we are going to explain the concepts of reflection and refraction of a plane waves using Huygens principle. Here what we are doing is, the next topic or the next important topic of our Huygens principle is reflection and refraction on the basis of Huygens principle. This may be asked in your examination for 5 marks. The probability of asking this question in your examination is 5 marks or 3 marks or 2 marks. If we ask only one question, what is reflection of a plane wave using Huygens principle or refraction of a plane wave using Huygens principle, that is probably we are getting for 2 marks or 3 marks. If he asks together what is the reflection and refraction of a plane wave using Huygens principle, then he should ask for 5 marks. Let us see what is the meaning of this thing. Now let us explain the concept of reflection and refraction of a plane waves using Huygens principle. First let us discuss about what is the concept of refraction of a plane waves using a Huygens principle. For that, what we have to do is we have to consider two mediums. These two mediums are called as 1 and 2. Medium 1 is rarer medium and medium 2 is denser medium. Let xy be a plane surface separating the two media. Let v1, v2 be the velocities of light in medium 1 and medium 2 respectively. Now consider a plane wavefront AB. AB is our plane wavefront incident to a surface xy. Here xy is a surface differentiating between two media. Medium 1 is called as rarer medium and medium 2 is called as a denser medium. Now if we assume AB as a plane wave propagating in that particular direction, here E dash A dash A is interfacing at a point A and creating an angle called as I. That particular angle is called as angle of incidence. Angle of incidence, and the normal drawn to the perpendicular to the plane XY, and A dash is the incident light or incident plane wave at one particular point. Here the secondary wavelet B strikes at a surface at the point C at XY. Okay, let A dash is called as primary wavefront and BC is called as secondary wavefront. A dash is a primary wavefront striking at a surface XY at point A, and the secondary wavefront B is striking at a point C of a XY plane. This is actually how the plane wavefront is incidenting on a plane XY. Now the time taken to the time taken by the secondary wavefront to hit the point C is called as tau, or you may call that time as t. That is left to you. You may consider that time as t or tau. Okay. But if the wave is traveling at a speed of v, then we used to call that as velocity, or in case of scalar quantity we used to call that as speed. In case of vector quantity we used to call that as velocity. Here BC is called as v1 into tau or v1 into t. Why? That is nothing but speed into time. What is the meaning of speed into time? Speed into time is nothing but distance. Okay, here BC is called as distance at a point of a wavefront to hit the second face at C of a XY plane. Here secondary wavefronts are traveling at a distance v1 into t. This is our concept. Next, during the same time tau, the secondary wavefront A, the light is traveling in a denser medium. Here look at A dash is an incident wavefront, and if it is going to the another medium means it has to change its direction and has to create a refracted ray inside that medium. The velocity of that ray decreases once it gets to the another medium, denser medium. Now what we have to do is we have to consider a radius of v1 into t. What is v1 into t? That is distance 1. We have to consider that distance and we have to draw a radius across a point A. Let us see how it will be. Look, we have drawn a radius from a point A to determine the distance of a refracted ray, because the radius of a circle is always same in all the direction. So here, and from point C we are drawing a tangent to this refracted ray. From point C in that denser medium we are drawing a tangent to the refracted ray. Let us see how it will be. Look, there is a tangent we have drawn to the sphere from refracted ray. Here the wavefront CE is called as refracted wavefront. There AB, in our radar medium we have AB. The AB is called as incident wavefront and CE is called as refracted wavefront. Here in the denser medium it is traveling a distance of v2 into tau. That is nothing but v2 is velocity, or speed, or tau is time. That is also traveling some radius that is constant. the distances which is traveling in some medium is constant. Okay, to that particular point it is constant. Now what we have to do is we have to consider ACE and a triangle ABC. In that particular triangle ABC, A is the angle of incidence, and in a triangle AEC, C is the angle of refraction. So look at the diagram very carefully. In that thing, at a point C, we have drawn a angle of refraction, and those two are alternating angles of I. That is, point A is angle of incidence. If we assume these two triangles, let us assume a triangle ABC and a triangle AEC. Those two triangles are right angle triangles in nature. If we apply some trigonometric functions to those triangles, what we will get? Let us see. Here what we have is sin theta, or sin of I, sin of angle of incidence. Sin I is equal to what? BC divided by AC. How we have got BC divided by AC? Because we know that sin function is nothing but opposite divided by hypotenuse. Here AC is our hypotenuse in the triangle ABC. If we assume a triangle ABC, in a right angle triangle ABC, here we have hypotenuse as AC, and opposite to the angle is at A, and opposite to that side is BC. So then it will become opposite BC divided by hypotenuse AC and the adjacent AB. Here we don't want AB because we don't know the value of AB. That's why we have considered BC and AC. Now what is sin theta? Sin theta is equal to BC by AC. Similarly, we have to apply this concept to the triangle AEC. Here E is 90 degree, C is angle of refraction. Using those concept, if we write an expression for that, is sin R is equal to AE divided by AC. Here also AC is a hypotenuse. Sin R is equal to AE divided by AC. Let us see what we have there. In our sin I, what is the value of BC? BC is equal to V1 into T. We know that value. That is why we have written the value of BC as V1 into T and ACS as it is. Now if we apply a similar concept to the right angle triangle of AEC, then what it will become? That is also sin R is equal to opposite divided by hypotenuse. Opposite is nothing but V2 into tau there, or V2 into T. V2 into T divided by AC. If we divide the above equations, let us assume sin I as equation 1, sin R as equation 2. Equation 1 divided by equation 2. If we divide a equation by equation 2, what we will get? Sin I divided by sin R is equal to V1 tau by AC whole divided by V2 tau divided by AC. Here AC gets cancelled and tau gets cancelled. Okay, in that expression AC gets cancelled and tau gets cancelled. If we look at that point, what are the remaining things in that expression? That is V1 divided by V2. Then the modified expression of Huygens wave principle is sin I divided by sin R is equal to V1 divided by V2. But we know that V1 is constant in medium 1. Without changing the medium, the velocity doesn't change. We know that concept. That is why V1 is constant throughout a medium 1. Similarly, the velocity of a wave 2 is constant in medium 2. V2 is constant in medium 2. That doesn't change. So sin I divided by sin R is equal to V1 divided by V2, or constant. We used to call that as constant. This is the expressions for Snell's law of refraction. This explains the concept of Snell's law of refraction, or we may call this law also, Snell's law. Snell's law has to be explained by using those expression, that is n1 sin I is equal to n2 sin r, because n1 and v1 are inversely proportional to each other. Then the equation will become v2 into sin I is equal to v1 into sin r. This is our law of refraction using Snell's law. Now what we have to do is we have to explain the concept of Huygens principle of a wave using reflection concept. This is all about refraction of a plane wave using Huygens principle. Now let us see what is the meaning of reflection of a plane wave using Huygens principle. In this theory, what we have to consider is a reflected surface. Look, here our xy plane is a reflection surface. Here we have only one medium. We don't have any two mediums. In the concept of reflection only, refraction only, we have to consider two media. Okay. Here we have only one medium. AB is a incident wavefront. As we used earlier, AB is our incident wavefront striking at a point A and striking at point C. Let us see how it will be. Look, if we have a normal at a point A, let us assume that as an angle of incidence. The angle between incident light ray or incident wavefront and a normal is called as angle of incidence, and these two are called as corresponding angles. Angle A is equal to corresponding angle at particular point B. If the secondary wavefront B is striking at a point C, if a secondary wavefront striking at a point C, then it is also doing the same job. That distance is called as V into tau, because here we don't have any two different velocities. That is why we have considered V into tau. But in earlier case we have two different velocities. That's why we have called those velocities as V1 and V2. Here we have only one velocity. The distance BC is called as V into tau. Distance BC is called as V into tau, or you may call that as V into T only. Okay. Here AB is incident wave front. Okay. Now the angle at point B is 90 degree. Now we have to consider that VT distance and we have to draw a semicircle at the point A. We have to consider BC distance. BC or VT both are same, we know that. At a point A we have to draw a circle or semicircle, that is left to you. But we need that much region only. If you want a circle, you write that as your wish. Okay. Now what I have done here is I have drawn a semicircle from the point A. Now we have to draw a tangent from point C to that circle. If we draw a tangent to that semicircle, what it will become? We will get some point, and that distance is called as AE. We will get another point, or you may call that as a D, E, F. That is left to you. Naming is left to you. You may give any name if you want. Now this AE is equal to BC, because we have taken the distance BC as our semicircle, radius of the circle BC. That's why the distance AE is equal to BC there. Look at there. Here what we have is EC as our refracted wavefront. AB is our incident wavefront and EC as our refracted wavefront. If we assume a triangle AEC, that is nothing but a right angle triangle. If we assume a right angle triangle AEB and ABC, both are right angle triangles here. Here angle E is equal to angle B. We know that both are 90 degree in nature. Angle E is equal to angle B. Both are having a angle of 90 degree. AE is equal to BC, because we have taken AE as a radius of BC. That is why AE is equal to BC is equal to VT or V tau. If one angle is equal and two sides of a triangle is equal, then we may call those two triangles as congruent triangles. If two sides of a equation is if one side of a equation is equal and one side of a triangle of a two triangles is equal, then we used to call such type of triangles are called as congruent triangles. If the triangles are congruent, all the sides or all the angles should be equal to each other. So we may call the congruent angles A and C are equal in nature. The angle A is nothing but, the point A is nothing but angle I, the point C is nothing but angle R. Those angles are equal in nature because the triangle EAC and triangle BAC are congruent. That's why we have to consider that point as I is equal to R. Next, what we have is law of refraction is true for I is equal to R. We know that angle I is equal to angle R. What is that R here? This is R means angle of reflection, not refraction. I think I have said refraction using this concept. If I did that, please correct it. That is not refraction, that is reflection. Here we are explaining reflection of a plane wave using Huygens principle. So angle of reflection is equal to angle of incidence is the very first law of reflection. If we go through the concept of law of reflection, there are 2 points. All the points, one is incident, reflection and normal all lie at a same plane. That is first law of reflection. And the second law of reflection is angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. Using Huygens wave principle, we can easily explain that the concept of reflection and refraction of a plane waves. This is all about reflection and refraction of a plane waves using Huygens principle. Okay, if there is any doubt, please contact me. I can explain you later. Thank you all.